Have you ever walked through the countryside and stumbled across a mysterious stone with strange initials or inscriptions and wondered about its story? That stone may have marked the scene of a tragic crime. There are approximately 100 murder stones scattered across the UK. A few are found in Scotland and Wales, but most are in England and are a unique feature of the British countryside. They stand as haunting reminders of lives cut short and communities shaken by acts of violence. These markers, etched in stone, serve both as memorials to victims and warnings to the living. The murder stones of the UK emerged as a unique phenomenon in the early 19th century. Most were erected during the 1820s, placed at or near the scenes of crimes that had caused particular shock or outrage. These stones often carried inscriptions reflecting the values of their time, warnings of divine retribution, appeals for justice, or simply the commemoration of a life lost. Today, we'll uncover the story of one of these markers, the Enoch Stone in Derbyshire. This particular stone holds a special place in the local history of Spondon. It marks the site of the brutal murder of Enoch Stone, a 49-year-old glovemaker, musician and father, who was attacked and left for dead on the night of the 23rd of June 1856 and whose murder remains unsolved to this day. This memorial stone was erected by the family of Enoch on the edge of the village to mark the place where he was attacked and fatally injured. Not knowing the significance, the stone on a main road could be easily overlooked, and for many years it was covered by bushes. A developer who was building some bungalows nearby rediscovered the stone, which is now exposed and maintained. It's no longer on the edge of the village, as expansion over the 170 years since means that it can be seen on Derby Road at the corner of Oregon Way, just past Asda. Enoch was well known in his community and was commonly known as Nocky. Despite suffering from paralysis for over 20 years, which left him with limited mobility and a limp, he remained active as a glovemaker and an organ blower at Spondon Church. He was a quiet, inoffensive man with a wife and 5 children. On that fateful night, Enoch set off from his home in Spondon to Derby at around 8 o'clock. His son was a servant of Mr. Moore of Appleby Hall and regularly sent his clothes home for washing. After collecting his son's clothes, he began his journey home, stopping at the Plough Inn on Nottingham Road to see his friends. Sober, Enoch left the inn and made his way home. At around 11:30 p.m, as he walked along Nottingham Road, which is now Derby Road, Enoch was attacked. He was struck multiple times over the head with a blunt instrument, leaving his skull fractured. His pockets were emptied, his boots stolen, and many of his son's clothes were scattered or taken. For hours, passers-by mistook him for a drunkard lying in the hedge. At 1 a.m, 2 coachmen passing noticed what appeared to be a bundle of rags. On closer inspection, they discovered Enoch, unconscious and gravely injured but still alive. He was taken by cart back to his home, where Dr. James Cade, a local physician, tended to him. Tragically, Enoch succumbed to his injuries at 6 a.m. the following morning, never regaining consciousness. He was buried 2 days later in Chapel Street Cemetery. The investigation into Enoch's murder began immediately. An inquest was held at the Malt Shovel Inn on the 21st of July, with Sir Henry Wilmot of Chaddesden Hall presiding as the magistrate. The government issued a notice that anyone with any information that led to a conviction of the murderer or murderers would receive a reward of £100. An additional £20 was added to this by the parishioners of Spondon, which in total was the equivalent of £15,000 today. A woman, 2 Irish men and a sailor were initially arrested. The woman gave a very confused account of that night and was remanded in custody, whereas the men were all released. At the inquest, a couple of witnesses came forward who saw Enoch walking back home, and from this, they could pinpoint approximately the time the incident happened, but despite various leads, no one was ever convicted. On the 21st of July 1856, the coroner returned a verdict of murder by persons unknown. Years later, Enoch's family erected a stone at the site where he was found. Inscribed with his initials, E.S., the marker stands as a sombre reminder of a crime that shook the village of Spondon. Nearby, Enoch Stone Drive was named in his memory, ensuring that his story would not be forgotten. While this is a prominent example, it is far from the only murder stone in the UK. Each marker tells its own tragic story. In Hindhead, Surrey, the unknown sailor's grave commemorates an unidentified man murdered in 1786. Charles Dickens actually references this stone in his novel Nicholas Nickleby, published in 1838. In Cadoxton, Wales, a stone accuses an unnamed murderer of escaping human justice but warns of divine judgment. And in Derbyshire's Goyt Valley, the William Wood stone memorialises a father of 3 murdered in 1823. The murder stones of the UK serve as more than just markers of past tragedies. They are cultural artefacts, reflecting the fears, values, and moral codes of 19th century Britain. By preserving these stories, we honour the lives lost and the lessons these stones were meant to teach. They stand as silent witnesses to history, urging us to remember and reflect. If you'd like to uncover more about these mysterious markers, let us know in the comments below. Are there other murder stones you'd like us to investigate? We could even create a special series dedicated to these intriguing pieces of history. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and join us on more historical journeys. Thank you for watching. See you next time.